It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Kohl.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Kohl. I'm talking today to Jackie Boone Allsup. She's the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP president. Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
The mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights in order to eliminate race-based discrimination and ensure the health and well-being of all persons. On the homepage of the NAACP, if you were to go there right now, you'll find a black and white photograph with a hashtag, "We are done dying." And I think that brings us to this point in time in our history, Jackie, yes?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Needless to say, in the forefront of people's mind, I'll say the nation's mind right now, is the killing of George Floyd, where we actually witnessed, when I say we, people, anyone that looked at that video, saw him die before your very eyes, and he was murdered.
Over 8 minutes of this video. Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched it. It was painful. It was hurtful to me, and it brought tears to my eyes, and my heart just ached when I heard this man stating, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," and then the call out for his mother, and the officer never once let up off of his neck. It was awful. It was an awful, awful video.
And this is not the first time that we've witnessed police brutality against black people.
It keeps happening over and over and over again. They seem to target black and brown people. When I think about Ahmaud Arbery, Freddie Gray, Eric Garner, Alton Sterling, all of these people, Michael Brown, all of these people were killed by police or by police officers. And I have a grandson that's 3 years old. I am very concerned for him as well. This racism is systemic. This is a systemic problem that we're having here. And it's been going on as long as I've lived and way before me. We need to do something. Something must happen, and it needs to happen now. People are tired. The young people are tired as well. If you notice all of the protests across the United States, there are a lot of young people who are speaking out against the injustices that have been happening to black and brown people. We are trying to cope with the COVID-19 virus that's going on, and then to have all of this on top of that, there are issues and problems with jobs and employment and economics within the black and brown communities, as well as other issues. Equity is what we want. We want to be treated as equal as everyone else here in America.
Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford put out on social media, it's a little bit longer, but his words matter, so I'm going to read it. "Like the rest of America, I watched over the course of this past weekend as thousands of people came together across the country to protest racism and the senseless murder of yet another unarmed black man at the hands of a police officer. I have the utmost respect for the honorable men and women who go to work every day to serve and protect our communities as law enforcement officers. Unfortunately, the actions of a few overshadow the positive work done by the many across the country. The same cannot be said for the violent rioters and looters who have used this time for their own opportunism and overshadowed the legitimate peaceful protest by communities who for far too long have been denied their fundamental rights. I was born in Washington, D.C., only 3 years after the Brown and Bolling decisions, so I am no stranger to racism, discrimination, and examples of our own nation failing to live up to its founding ideals. However, instead of tearing down those ideals, I believe it's up to all of us, regardless of race, to do the hard work of living up to the best versions of ourselves and making good on the promissory note signed by our founders that all of us are guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I stand with every man and woman who has condemned the tragic and indefensible murder of George Floyd and any innocent person lost at the hands of injustice. In so many ways, we are at a turning point in our nation unlike any we have experienced before. It is time for all of us, no matter race, age, gender, or creed, to look deep within ourselves and acknowledge the work that is yet to be done, that must be done, so that we as a nation may finally live up to the ideals of our founding and ensure liberty and justice for every American, once and for all. Jackie, does that sum it up for you?
Yes, it does. That is very well stated. It is time. It is time to make changes. And the quote where he said, we need to look inside of ourselves as individuals. We need to look inside of ourselves to look at what part are we playing.
No doubt, all of us.
All of us. All of us. And that's what I mean, all of us.
We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. My name is Donna Kohl. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Jackie Boone Allsup. She's the Anne Arundel County NAACP branch president. We're talking about history, our American history, and as it's unfolding right now before our very eyes. Jackie, in response to the killing in Minnesota of George Floyd and countless other black men that were killed at the hands of law enforcement officers, you have put out a press release. Anne Arundel County NAACP branch signed on with several other African-American organizations, saying after years of urging by community groups, body cameras were included in the county's 2021 budget at an estimated cost of $5,200,000. However, recently, the county executive has stated to civil rights leader Carl Snowden that body cameras will not be included in next year's budget. And the press release goes on to say, while we're aware of the need to make budget cuts during these difficult times, in our opinion, cutting police body cameras from next year's budget is an error in judgment, as body cameras are tools needed to protect both the police from false allegations and the community from rogue policing tactics. The recent death of George Floyd at the hands of the rogue Minneapolis police officers who were caught on tape exhibiting unnecessary and undue force in their interaction with the victim, George Floyd, demonstrates the importance of video evidence. I've asked the county executive for a response to this, and I'm awaiting that. But in the meantime, Chris Trumbauer, who works for him, says, one clarification, body-worn cameras were not included in the fiscal year 21 budget. We are working on a supplemental budget request to add them into fiscal year 21 budget. What Ms. Allsup refers to in her statement is the county executive's interactive budget tool that solicited input into a budget earlier this year. It included an option to have users add body-worn cameras to the budget at an estimated cost of $5.2 million. There's some disagreement with the way the press release was worded. Regardless,
I know that the NAACP, along with several other organizations, African-American organizations in Anne Arundel County, the Caucus of African-American Leaders, Connecting the Dots, as well as others, we've been meeting with the county executive, and we've discussed body cameras well over a year for Anne Arundel County Police Department. And in our discussions, the county executive stated that he was in support of body cameras. Then we heard from the leader of Caucus of African American Leaders, Carl Snowden, that he was informed by the county executive that body cameras would not be included. It was in the budget but has been taken out of the budget. Since then, we have been contacting our elected officials on the county council, as well as the county executive. I got an email from the county executive this morning stating that he received over 70 emails from youth and people in Anne Arundel County requesting that the funding be put back in the budget. We have been contacting all of those, the county council as well, and it is our hope that funding will be in the budget for body cameras for the Anne Arundel County Police Department. The Annapolis City Police Department has them, and we need them for Anne Arundel County as well. It's not going to be the panacea for everything, but it will protect the community as well as the police whenever there's a traffic stop or whatever interactions that may occur. All police officers are not bad, but when you get that one bad apple that demonstrates that racist behavior, then we got a major problem.
And video evidence is critical to prosecutors.
And had the George Floyd incident not been videotaped by bystanders, and I'm not sure even if the police officers had their body cameras on.
And actually, your press release does make note regarding the issue in Minneapolis. As a result of the police officers' nefarious acts, the city of Minneapolis is now ablaze and looks more like a war zone. The respective governments will certainly be subject to millions of dollars in liability lawsuits. It just takes one rogue police officer or one innocent misconception, and Anne Arundel County, Maryland could easily be the next Minneapolis. In the email you received from the county executive that told you that over 70 young people have written in asking for these body cameras, did he imply that he was leaning towards this? Anything else said?
He did imply that he was looking at the budget, and hopefully he will look at the budget. He states that he supports body cameras. It is our hope that those funds get put back in.
This is not the only way we're going to stop this.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. There's going to have to be changes made throughout this country. And how we're going to stop it, I don't know. I guess one way is to start talking to each other, black and white folks. There are a number of white folks who came out to the protests in Annapolis this week, who stood up for black and brown people, who protested that Black Lives Matter, who protested against what happened in Minnesota.
Let's come back to that and talk more about maybe this is the turning point the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, and what else can happen, what else the community can do to stand by our neighbors, our friends, our relatives. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Kohl. Today I am talking to Jacqueline Boone Allsup. She's the president of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. We're talking about what's happening in America right now, what's been happening for far too long to our black and brown neighbors, friends, relatives, and what we can do to ensure that what has happened, what continues to happen, doesn't happen anymore. You said starting with dialogue between the communities, which I've been seeing a lot of, not just in social media, at the protest also. I'm seeing talking, asking questions. It's different communities that do not, apparently, have not fully understood the history of the other.
True. This is true. And having been a victim of racism, it is difficult for someone who's not black or brown to actually feel what we feel, the impact it has on African Americans. I think also something that needs to happen is we need to hold our elected officials accountable. I think there needs to be stronger laws that are passed. We most recently have a civil rights law passed on posting of racist swastikas on property.
I'm not sure if you saw Terrence Floyd talking at the site where his brother was killed, George Floyd. He said, vote, vote. Not just at the national level, vote at the local level, because that's where a change is going to be made, yes?
Vote. You're absolutely right. Voting is extremely important. In November, when it's time to vote for the President of the United States, we need every black and brown person, every individual who's registered to vote, get registered and vote.
Unfortunately, Memorial Day wasn't just about George Floyd. Another incident happened in Central Park in New York, where a birder by the name of Christian Cooper asked a woman named Amy Cooper, no relation, to leash her dog. The dog was off leash. There are leash laws that say that a dog cannot be off leash. According to Christian Cooper's Facebook post, he asked her to leash her dog. He said, look, if you're going to do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, but you're not going to like it. And she said, what's that? And he said, come here, puppy. He has biscuits, dog biscuits, for exactly this purpose, so that he can encourage those that are breaking the law to put their dogs on leashes. And she turned around and said, well, we all know what she said. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. She then dialed 911 and told them multiple times an African-American man was recording her and threatening her dog and her. This was seen on social media, her trying to use police as a weapon.
Not only use police as a weapon, but African-Americans, black and brown people, and blaming them for whatever happens in America. And it was so many people have made the allegation that I was carjacked and it was by a black male, or that when something happens and when they describe it, they blame a black male for what has happened. And we've seen many cases of this happen, and that's what Facebook Karen is what they're calling her. Facebook Karen, that's what she did. Because the bird watcher was a African-American male, I don't know whether she thought this or not, but it appears that she thought if she would say a black man was threatening her life, that the police would come quicker, or that the police would come right away and believe her side of the story. Because he videotaped the entire incident. Had he not videotaped the incident, we don't know how that would have turned out.
Exactly right. Jackie, you were talking about your grandson. How do you explain this to him? Not yet, but you're going to, or your daughter, son, will have to? Yes?
We'll have to. He's only 3 years old now, but I think about, we've been saying this for years. Parents have been saying to their sons, when you go out, you say, and if you're stopped by the police officer, say yes, sir, no, sir. Do whatever he asked you to do. And they have been saying yes, sir, no, sir, doing what they've asked them to do. And now black and brown men are still dying. What is the correct answer? What is the answer that's going to keep all of them safe? There's going to have to be a change in our system.
Because we are done dying, that hashtag.
Yes, we are done dying, and there has to be a change, and we will be holding our elected officials accountable for laws that will protect the people of this state.
The Anne Arundel County NAACP website is Anne Arundel County NAACP.org. If you're interested in becoming a member, if you're interested in assisting them in any other way. Jackie, how else can the community assist you right now?
One of the things they can do right now, and what we're doing, is regarding these body cameras for the Anne Arundel County Police Department, please contact your elected official or the county council, and please contact the county executive and send emails to them requesting and asking them to put the funding back into the budget for body cameras.
Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you again.
This interview was recorded on Monday, and this clarification is being added after. We asked the county executive for a response to the demand for body cameras on Monday. On Thursday afternoon, County Executive Pittman announced he will submit a package of supplemental budget amendments to the County Council to provide funding for body-worn cameras for the police department. Anne Arundel County Police Department Chief Timothy Altamari said, "I'm extremely happy to hear the County Executive and County Council found a way to fund our body-worn camera program. This is the right thing to do. Your police department supports any technology that invests in public trust. The addition of body-worn cameras is an opportunity to show the community and nation who we are as police officers entrusted with the safety of our residents, visitors, and everyone in our community." This is Donna Kohl on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.